So yes, welcome one and all to the Grustacular Tom and Jerry matchup chart. This is definitely a little bit removed from the closed beta, and it seems like the game will be in a very different state come open beta release. But I just wanted to throw this out there to give some of my initial thoughts on Tom and Jerry, aka Jasper and Jinx, and the variety of matchups that they can come across so far. The open beta will be a bit different. We'll have Iron Giant for one, and there will be character changes among other things, I'm sure. So none of this is, of course, set in stone. I do have quite a bit of Tom and Jerry experience, though. I played him very consistently, like 90% of the time, in Closed Alpha Test 2 and the most recent Closed Alpha Test 3. Hundreds and hundreds of matches, made it to the top 30 in 1v1 and 2v2 a couple times, ended up a top 5, top 10 Tom and Jerry of all players in both modes. So I feel like I've done a little bit of my research. I've done a little, I know a thing or two about a thing or two. So let's just jump right in and get started with how Jasper and Jinx handle the current cast of Multiversus. So let's get started. Let's just go directly with what this list has, and let's start with Taz. Taz is weird because Taz was also like Taz was also a new character added, and I think Taz is pretty solid overall. But I'm gonna put it in solid win. I don't think the Taz and Tom and Jerry matchup is good for Taz, like, at all. So let's think about some of the tools that the character has, right? The big thing is the Meta Knight Tornado. Everyone's talking shit about that Meta Knight Tornado because it kills you at like 50. If you're not ready, you just get exploded off to the side. It's great in doubles just for that reason too. And it also has a perk where you can reflect projectiles. That perk layout of Taz might be the trickiest. Obviously, there's too many little perks, so I'm not going to go into all the permutations of little things. But like in terms of your basic signature perks, if Taz has the Reflect Projectiles Tornado, that might give Tom and Jerry trouble. If you can spam it about the same as Tom can spam his Dynamite, then you have to be careful as the Tom and Jerry player not to get all your shit reflected back right away, right? And he's also got like the hungry moves, right? He's got his own kind of multiplier, or not multiplier, but like a debuff, right? You get up to 15 of the hungry sacks, and then the person becomes a chicken, headless chicken. They can't attack or do anything. That is an insane debuff. I want to see that utilized more. I want to see Taz's build around that. But for the time being, it does not seem like something that, especially in 1 vs 1, this is mainly 1 vs 1 focused, by the way. I should probably accentuate that. But especially in 1 vs 1, it does not seem like it's very easy. To me, those are Taz's strengths at the moment. You've got your tasty debuff, you've got your spinny tornado, and then I think he has like a pretty okay command grab type thing too. Although command grabs, in a game without shielding is a little weakened as a whole. But I would still put Taz in solid win because Taz has kind of like a garbage projectile, but his projectile does not compete with Tom and Jerry zoning. Keeping Taz out is pretty easy. Tornado is not that good in 1 vs 1. It's very, kind of predictable. I haven't seen, again, I haven't played against everyone, so there's maybe some Taz is killing it, but I haven't seen any Taz like do crazy combos into Tornado. Like you get a hit at like 40 that like true confirms into Tornado that kills. I haven't seen anything like that. I've just seen like you sometimes get a straight hit and it works, or like later end combos towards the end, like when you're in the hundreds and you'll start dying anyway. Maybe that means Taz isn't as strong a character in singles right now as a whole, but I just think also his specific style of bruiser and having to be so close, having to add his debuff, it just struggles when you have to deal with zoning. Tom and Jerry can just set up what they want. They can just keep plucking projectiles, do their thing, and it really shouldn't be that much of an issue. Next character we've got on the list is Velma. Interesting. Now Velma's weird. I kind of want to put it even. Velma definitely can counter zone, right? Velma's got the crazy good megaphone that has like super long reach. It kills if you get the full effect on it, and even if you don't get the full effect, you can kind of just do like minuscule chip damage with a little beam here and there. She's also got her like intellect knowledge book tome, her tomes 32 through 66 or whatever tome she decides to use. The big head tome, your cooldowns just get ended, and she has a cooldown on megaphone. She has a cooldown on the ice like her up B when she does it on the ground, her up special that puts like the puddle of ice, or gooey ice. I think her style of zoning works just to keep up with Tom and Jerry, right? The megaphone can destroy Jerry, so if you're in a like full screen zoning war, you can lose your asset very easy, and your cooldown for Jerry is longer than the megaphone, I'm pretty sure. So it's in addition to the fact that Tom without Jerry is much more dampened than Velma without microphone. I don't see either character having like exceptional tools that outzones the other. It's just who is playing the better zoning game at the moment. And then of course, in single, the cops can really mess you up. If it's like last stock and you're both in your high hundreds and she gets the cops, it's kind of like, it's not akin to Wario with Waft or something that extreme in Smash, but it's almost like it. It's just an extreme mechanic that will destroy you. However, Tom and Jerry can kind of deal with that easier because the projectiles do work against the cop car, so you can kind of avoid it and destroy it, but it's still a nuisance to deal with. And the other half is like her projectiles that are most annoying are like, the mouth words and the megaphone, and they can be tricky to try and reflect. I don't think you can reflect megaphone. You can reflect the word bullets, but she'll often send like 2 or 3 at a time. And so if you reflect the first one, it'll just, eliminate the second, and then the third will hit you, so stuff like that happens. But on the other side of the coin, Tom has great zoning too. Jerry snipes, it can really screw up Velma, especially if you hit her before the megaphone gets its full blast, because they're going to try and charge and beat your Jerry, and if you can win that game of chicken where your Jerry comes out first, you got it. She's not great recovery, I would say. Like, everyone has, great recovery in this game, obviously, but in the terms of great recovery, I would say she's on the lesser end. She's more edge guardable. Yeah, it's a pretty evenish matchup. It's whoever's really playing the zoning game better. Next up, what do we have on this list? But we've got Arya. I want to say Tom and Jerry wins against Arya. Arya is all about just, trying to destroy. Okay, well, I'll rephrase that. Arya is all about people dying fast. That's what happens when you play Arya, right? Either she's trying to kill you off the top or off the side from some sneaky little dagger conversion that, boom, you get knocked off stage, then a dagger at 50, and you get forward aired right near the blast zone and just die. Or she is blowing up at 50, 60, 70 herself. So it's kind of like a Pichu-esque, character. Hits hard, can explode you, but gets exploded right back. And I think because of that, and because of her she doesn't really have zoning tools or tools to deal with it aside from the dagger teleport. So aside from that, putting that to the side, she really, I don't know, she just can't. I just don't see how she deals with Tom and Jerry zoning. Like, once your dagger is on cooldown, or once you've set it in the wrong spot or used it, just like Tom has more stuff to keep you out before his cooldowns run out and before yours comes back. And then like Tom and Jerry, doesn't have the best damage output. Dynamite does very little damage, and that's kind of like your heavy neutral tool. But again, against a light character like Arya, that's okay. You can still get messed up bad. Arya's just fast. She can get out there. She can kind of edge guard you. And I don't know. I haven't really seen how the face change thing. I know she can like take your face and like do a move of yours. I never see Arya's do that. They like always do it, and then they like use it into like a stun or something. It's weird. I've never seen them use like the copy moves. So that'll have to get developed. So I think while it's not as strong as Taz, because she does have that dagger that can get her close, and she does have she can kill earlier, more consistent than Taz. Taz has to spam tornado for that, and I think that's much easier to deal with than Arya and her dagger. So I would put it in a win, but not a solid win. So it's an advantage, but Arya is by no means is it like a unwinnable matchup for Arya or anything. Batman, I think that's another solid win. Batman, again, this is closed alpha Batman. Apparently he's going to be busted upon open beta release after all these buffs he's getting. But yeah, Batman, he was just in a tough spot in the closed alpha. He didn't seem like he had that many great 2v2 synergies outside of the cloud, and he has a cool combo game, batarangs, and like the way it works with the explosion can be really fun, and grappling is just fun. It just seemed like he was lacking kill power, and like those combos wouldn't really turn into anything much, and like everybody else can kind of deal with it too. He also feels like he has one of the bigger hurt boxes in the game, so it's a little easier to clip with things. Dynamite stops grapple. I think Jerry stops grapple too. Jerry's like, a god tier projectile. Dynamite stopping that is the biggest part, because you can just set Dynamite once you see that grapple come out, and the Batman, what's he going to do? He's either going to stop grappling, and then you keep zoning, or they're gonna grapple to you, hit the dynamite, and then you might even get a combo off them. So it's just one of those matchups where a core tool of the character is neutralized a bit. I played some okay Batmans. I'm pretty sure some Batman, gave me some sauce here and there, but yeah, I think this is just, in its current state, a solid winning matchup for Tom and Jerry. Just zone him out, use your dynamite to stop him from grappling. Literally, if he's hiding in the smoke cloud, you can just chuck Jerry in there. Like, what's he gonna do? Just sit there and take a Jerry hit? No, they're gonna come out of the cloud, right? So there's a lot of ways you can make them not use their tools well, or like, and his batarang being the other great tool, you can just reflect that. You reflect that, and not only that, you can pick it up and then now use it as an item yourself. And yeah, anytime Tom gets stuff like that is super useful. So yeah, solid win for the old T and J. Next we've got Bugs, and this, I don't want to say solid loss because I don't know if it's that bad. I don't think it is that bad, but it is definitely a loss. I think this is the first losing matchup that Tom and Jerry have to deal with. Bugs Bunny, I don't know. Is it like Tom and Jerry? I think it's a top 5, top 3 character in the game. He just has so many good things. Jumping up and dropping the safe is really hard to deal with. You either have to spend time hitting the safe a couple times to break it, or you need to stop Bugs before he even drops the safe. Because once Bugs drops the safe, he's just gonna get on the other side and do and punch it, and then it's just going weird angles. It's hitting you in the face. It's just friggin' annoying. Now, as a zoner, it's not that bad because you can kind of like just distance yourself from it. I haven't tried to, or I've tried, but I haven't succeeded at reflecting the safe. Like so the safe drops down. Bugs has a safe drop down move, and then he'll attack it and hit it. I haven't tried to reflect it once he hits it, or I haven't been successful in it. I think it's possible. It should be possible from just how projectiles work. But if it's not, that's an even bigger loss. And even if it is, it's a very slow travel time, and most likely it might even break upon getting hit. So it's just safe is just kind of hard to deal with in terms of the zoning arc. Bugs' bunny hole is really difficult to deal with because he's got the invulnerability. He's super fast zooming around, so it's like just a fast movement you have to handle with it. You can't move as fast yourself, and specifically in the matchup, you cannot use traps, right? If you're Tom and Jerry, setting traps, Bugs will just go underground, go right to the trap, take no damage, and then just boom, it's gone. It's one of those matchups where you don't set trap and just leave it, but you have to like in the middle of a sequence, you have to set trap when you think Bugs is gonna approach, and so that he gets messed up by the trap, and then you can maybe get a up air off that or something. He's got the rocket move, which I think is one of the coolest moves, especially when Bugs Bunny sends the rocket up in the air, and then it takes like 30 seconds, and then it finally comes back down. That cracks me up every time. But it's annoying, right? Getting on the rocket, riding it into the hole, and coming out the hole with the rocket, and then like jumping off and hitting it with an up air or something. Like Bugs is definitely a creative character. He's definitely a cool character. I think he's a super cool character, like how they played him out in this game. But yeah, I think it's just tough for Tom and Jerry. What can Tom and Jerry do? You can shoot Jerry, right? Jerry will be your best friend, and so will Dynamite, and that's just kind of like true of any matchup. I feel like the big issue is Bugs can deal with your zoning or find ways around it with his own, his safe, his tunnel to get around. So he has ways to deal with your zoning and get around it. And I just think the up close game is just short out won by Bugs. You just get sent up, right? And because of that rocket, because he can ride that rocket, he can be close to the blast zone easily, right? He can be close to the blast zone easily and then follow up with an up air. So it's stuff like that makes Bugs just wild. I don't know if I would say Bugs is an overall better character than Tom and Jerry. It probably is true, but specifically for the matchup, I think it's a loss. I don't think it's a slight or a solid loss though. I don't think it's super extreme. I don't think it's unwinnable. I don't think it's something you need a counter pick for, and I don't think it totally shuts down your tools, right? It shuts down B a lot. It shuts down your trap. Your mouse trap is very, minuscule at some times. But other than that, you can still play the game you want. A loss, but not the worst of the worst. Although it might actually be his worst matchup. I actually don't think there's much harder. Except for the next guy. I'm going to put this as a solid loss. It's not true. It's probably around the same much of a matchup, bad matchup as Bugs, but I will say Finn is slightly worse, and just for some hot takery and just to fill out the matchup chart, I'm gonna put this in solid loss. Get out of here, Finn. I think the character has really cool traits to it. I love the aspect of having money that you have to collect and you have to manage, you gotta buy items and that kind of thing. Although it kind of sucks that Finn just only buy speed boots and it's just all about getting faster, so that's kind of annoying. I think he's got an interesting thing with the that like item projectile that he can use when he spends money that makes like a weird projectile. I think that's kind of interesting. Finn has crazy kill potential with up B, you know, or that spinning backpack will just like, he can ladder into it and kill you off the top so easy, kill you off the side, kill you off the top. He can spike so easily, just charging down smash at the ledge. You know, he has so much speed and ability to get on you fast that it's really hard to zone. That's just the big issue. Is that the big issue with this matchup is it can be hard to zone. It feels like this is it, yeah. This honestly feels like the only character I've fought against where like I would feel like I'm struggling. Like there are definitely, you know, players who were better than me, players who had better movement, players who were on my ass, but in other characters too. But like this was the only specific character where it's like I would, you know, once someone I was like, all right, they really know what they're doing, it's like, what do I do to get off? You know, what do I do to get this human off of me, right? Finn has something to deal with trap. He also has the holding the high five move, or maybe it's a different one, but he has holding the high five move, which I think reflects projectiles, and he has a shoulder bash which protects him from projectiles. So he has two different ways to kind of handle projectiles as well. So he kills earlier, he does more damage. Yeah, it's just a tough matchup. What do you have going for you? Well, you have range, right? That's just, you know, the truth. Tom and Jerry has range going for them in the matchup. Tom and Jerry has the ability to zone. You have the ability to make Jerry snipes, right? Finn recovering like can be like a mixed bag. Like if he has the ability like to like zoom back on stage to like that coin or whatever that teleport crap he does is, if he has that, it's almost impossible to edge guard him. But if he has to resort to like his spinny up B, his up special, he has to resort to just using you know, jumps and air dodges, he can actually be easy. You know, you can ledge trap him, you can set stuff, you can set your dynamite at the ledge, you can get him with down airs. You have to kind of exploit him off stage, keep your zone, and really you have to get a lead, right? Because once you get a lead, like a significant lead, like at least 50% or something, they're gonna have to keep approaching because otherwise you will set up your zone heavy. Again, this solid loss is a little bit for posterity, a little bit for the memes. I don't think it's a terrible match. I don't think it's like a 7-3 or something crazy like that. But I do think this is probably Tom and Jerry's worst matchup in the game currently. Next, we've got Garnet. And Garnet, I think, is just a solid win. Or not a solid win. I think it's just like a good win. Just a win. Who wins harder? Alright, so interesting. Yeah, maybe I should tier these. I should list these in tiers. I think Batman loses harder than Taz. So Batman might be like the easiest. I think Garnet is a little harder than Arya. It's in the same tier. I definitely think Tom and Jerry wins. So what does Garnet have? Garnet has weight, right? She's definitely heavy, a little harder to kill. And a specific thing in the matchup that really screws up Tom and Jerry is if Garnet does her like remote controlled rocket fist and you shoot Jerry, they will collide and Rocket will just go right through. Jerry will die every single time. So that's something really good Garnet actually has. If a Garnet player can like tap into when you're gonna be shooting that Jerry rocket and always have their hand or their rocket arm ready, like you can't get past that. That's actually tough. You might have to like zone in the sense where you put Jerry not to hit them but away from them, behind them, and then start doing tennis balls and try and do tennis ball zoning or catch them with a cork shoot. Directly hitting them with Rocket or with Jerry's slingshot can be tricky. They definitely have tools that can cancel it. She also has like a weird like that dancing move where it's kind of like a projectile nullifying field. I don't know how I feel about this though, because it seems like it stops projectiles from hitting her, but it also just stops them dead in their tracks, so they just stay right there. I assume if she stops dynamite this way and then continues, it'll still go on and then have a hitbox that could hurt her. And I'm pretty sure I did see this happen before. Is she stopped a Tom and Jerry tennis ball, you know, ended her dance move, and then the ball lands and you can still hit that ball with your racket because it's still a ball in the field. Like that's something that can be played with. I don't know, you know, Garnets are gonna have to get good with it to handle projectile zoning, but I feel like there's also weaknesses to it. So yeah, the fist is tough, and the dealing with that little dance field can be a little wonky. And then of course, you know, she's got some strength, so she can kill you kind of early. She's got some moves that can kill you pretty early. And then she has that weird star thing. I never really got messed up by this. I guess, you know, I feel like it's kind of easy to avoid. But they can do that thing where they set the star like right next to the wall and like zoom you to the wall and then like do a wall bounce combo that kills super early. I never got hit by that. So, other than that stuff though, I think it's just solidly in favor of Tom. Like once you deal with her rocket arm and you know how to get around her dancing field, because like the dancing field is super laggy too. So you can honestly, like you see her doing that to handle your projectiles, you can just run in and like attack her with forward air, down air. You have the zoning, you can stay away, you're faster than them, You're not super light, so you don't like explode at every touch. You can edge guard Garnet fairly decently if she doesn't have her star. If she has her star, she's just zooming all around the world. But you can edge guard her fairly easily without the star. And even with the star, like something that's actually, this is a thing that screws up her matchup, is that Dynamite will screw up the star. If you do Dynamite and someone stars into you, it just like, yeah, Dynamite is such a good, just like, it's like Snake Grenade, right? It's just such a good get off me tool, such a good combo breaker. It can definitely mess with Garnet using her teleport star thing. So yeah, Garnet, a win. The hardest win so far, but still definitely I think a winning matchup. Harley Quinn. I don't know how I feel about this. I want to say it's even because Harley's good, but I also think it's just a win. I think this is just a winning matchup. Honestly, it might even be easier than Garnet. I think Harley, she's not as easy as Arya. Arya, I think, is a worse character than Harley and easier to deal with. But Harley, like, Harley's a good character that still suffers a lot of flaws that Arya has to deal with, mainly dying fast and dying fast. Harley also is a character that constantly is like jumping around and is often high up in the air, setting her like little trap thing or like trying to get you off the top, and you can kind of reversal that easy. Like, I've killed Harleys off the top a lot, as much as they've killed me, right? What does Harley else have? Harley has like that weird like little plush toy thing that can be annoying for sure. It's super fun, but if you get stuck with it, you know, it's annoying getting stuck. She has great mobility, right? She has a lot of ways to get around, and that nair is just huge in hit. She's got a much better grounded game than Tom and Jerry. Like, you definitely don't want to fight her on the ground because her, you know, her like side attack into like her down smash type stuff. Like, her down smash is great. It's kind of like, her down smash is kind of just a better version of Tom and Jerry's, pretty much. You have to really be careful of like, just same with Arya, right? Like, if you're not careful, you're in the wrong space at the wrong time, you will get up aired, up B'd, you know, hit into a box off the top, and you'll die at 60. So like, she has the capacity to explode you. I actually love her down there, the rocket glove. I think that's the way to go. Other than that, she dies early. She's light. She has traps and she has ways to like kind of set things up, and she has some moves that have disjoints and range, so she's really good at mid-range, but she does not have long zoning or long-range zoning stuff. It's hard for her to get past the dynamite wall. It's hard for Harley to deal with Tom's slingshot, recovering or just in neutral, right? Slingshot is just a great move. Jerry is in the air, coming at you. She can't just throw out something that's going to one-hit it. I think maybe her neutral attack with the hammer might do the trick, but I haven't seen Harley's do anything to handle that. You know, she dies super fast. It's really just that. It's, you know, you can zone her and you can kill her fast. Simple. Who is next on this Chrimbus list? We got Jake the Dog. Jake the Dog, I also want to say, is a win. I don't want to say it's a solid win. It is a funny matchup. It has one of my favorite lines of like the little voiceovers that has the connection where it's like, Jake will say to Tom and Jerry, "Hey, I don't want to be a cliche and chase cats, but get over here." Not only does that play on the cat versus dog chasing a cat dynamic, it also plays on their actual gameplay dynamics. Jake is a bruiser who doesn't have projectiles, and he is going to chase you in this match. He is going to be frustrated trying to chase down Tom and Jerry as slippery old Tom's sneaking around doing his thing, throwing projectiles. So like, the line really fits with the characters and with the actual gameplay dynamic. So I think that's beautiful. It's just tough for Jake to get in. Like, he has the forwarder, right? Everyone knows Jake forwarders, you know, min arms, Luffy punch. It's goated, right? That's one of his top tier moves. But other than that, right, like, I think Jake's recovery is terrible. It's like, again, everyone has god tier recovery, so it's not like you can just spike him for free every time. But that up B is so slow, and especially when you're a zoner, you can just set up and just snipe him at wherever he's going. That horse is really good for horizontal, but again, if you call that out, you can just blow him up for it. Does Horse beat Jerry Rocket? That's a good question. We'll have to find out when the open beta comes out. I think Horse doesn't, though. I think Horse does not beat Jerry Rocket. What Jake does have, though, is his house reflects projectiles. I think the only projectile like that really is immune to anything about like reflecting or, you know, absorbing projectiles or whatever is Jerry Rocket or Slingshot itself, right? I really hope in the full game, or at least the open beta, they have like a in-game dictionary or like, you know, a lexicon where you can go over terms like, all right, tasty debuff. What does it actually do? How does it work? You know, ice projectile debuff. What does it do? You know, what qualifies as a projectile that can be reflected by Tom and Jerry's racket? You know, what qualifies as a projectile that can be reflected by Jake's bouncy house, because I've seen dynamite get reflected, but I've never once seen Jerry's slingshot ever get reflected. It's still a projectile, but clearly it has a different property. It does have things it loses to, it can get destroyed, but it can't be reflected, right? Things that normally prevent projectiles don't stop it. So I wish there was more clarification on like little terms like that. You know what? Let's put it in solid win. Let's put it in solid win. It's the bottom of solid win, but let's put it in solid win. I think, yeah, it's just tough for Jake to get in. Reindog. Now see, part of me wants to put this in even too. I feel like it's the same thing, right? Tom and Jerry just has difficulty with other zoners or the people who super rush him down like Finn. But I think this is a winning matchup. The issue is, for Reindog to set up his zoning, it's a lot slower. Like when I see the Reindog set up that crystal or they charge that big fireball, that takes time. Like I feel like it's very easy, like just to aim a Jerry rocket and interrupt them. You can just interrupt their charge time with a Jerry rocket, which you can literally hit from anywhere. If you can see the person, you can throw the Jerry rocket. All you need to do is have your angles right. You also have a reflector, and that is a godsend in this matchup. You can reflect all the fireballs. Like Reindog also has a lot of like 2v2 aspects, right? Like he has that beam that pulls people in and he can turn into a ball, which really don't have effect in 1v1. So I think he has like more tools that are, weakened in 1v1 compared to Tom and Jerry. Reindog has about the same kind of combo game, about the same kind of, like up close button damage stuff as Tom and Jerry. So it's like roughly the same. I think recovery, Tom and Jerry has a better recovery, or, harder to edge guard. I think it's easier to edge guard Reindog. It's just another matchup of kind of like zoner v zoner, but I feel like it's harder for Reindog to do the zoning they want as opposed to like Velma. I feel like Velma and Bugs can do the zoning they want. They can keep their distance. They can handle Tom's zoning better than Reindog can. What does Reindog have though? I should probably say what Reindog has to make it. Well, that zoning can be tough, right? If you get out zoned, if you do let them set up, especially if you're off stage, like if they set up and you're off stage, you can be in a real bad time. This might be a hot take, but I think this is even. I think this is an even matchup because it is just, what do you do when Shaggy round starts, you're both opposite sides of the screen, and they just jump, start charging? You are now making the approach and having to catch them, because you're not going to be able to hit them immediately, right? You have to spend multiple jumps, multiple dodges to get up there to the point, because they can go high, right? This game lets you go far. So you have to spend multiple resources to get up there, and they can cancel the charge at any time, to end it early. They can come back down. They can start, they can just mix you up, right? 9 times out of 10, they will put themselves in a spot where even if you do hit them with a Jerry rocket, it'll just go off stage, and now they have a fully charged, or they're charged up Shaggy, who took like 10 damage or something, and you are without a Jerry. That Shaggy is charged and you have Jerry on cooldown. That's actually a losing matchup. It's tough because Shaggy can get up close. His kicks and stuff are just heavy damage. He's got a projectile that can, it's not amazing, but he can do it, so he can handle your zoning. If you're trying to set up something, he can throw a sandwich to keep you in check. I know people were saying Shaggy feels too honest. I don't know, maybe in other matchups, people who have better close combat tools, it's a lot harder for Shaggy. People who are faster can track him down easier. But against Tom and Jerry, now, granted, there were some Shaggys that I totally whooped, where it's like, if you're not utilizing the strategy I'm talking about, you will probably lose to Tom and Jerry. If you're not, making use of that charge, then it's tough. It's super tough for Shaggy. But that's why I put it as even, because if you do make use of it, it's tough for Tom and Jerry, bruh. Shaggy fully charged with a sandwich in hand, or even just fully charged, is scary. Like, Tom and Jerry will die to down air up B at like 60. Down air up B is just busted, right? Once he has that charge, he now has armor, right? If he does side B, or the kick, he's got armor on it. If he tries to land with something, he also has other grounded moves that have armor, and that can be tough, right? If Shaggy, and the other half is if Shaggy does like the side B kick and you shoot Jerry, that's always Jerry dies. He will kick right through Jerry. I've seen how dangerous this character can be. Please do not buff him anymore. We're gonna see day 1 of open beta. Shaggy is gonna be out of control. Steven Universe. Yeah, this is probably a solid win. I don't know. Steven, I don't think is a bad character, and I don't think Steven is as bad as people say in 1v1. Like, obviously he has a lot of 2v2 tools. Obviously he's a support character, or like a tanky character that helps your teammates survive. He gives your teammate armor. Giving him and Wonder Woman kind of play similar roles, right? They kind of have they can kind of do shield stuff that pushes you upwards, and they give you armor so you can just spam stuff. But in 1v1, I don't know. Like Watermelon Steven has never really seemed too effective or too terrible. Sometimes you get laddered off the top with that like shield combos and stuff, but it's not like too bad. It's not too unmanageable, and he also kind of can like set up shield to stop some of your projectiles from getting to him. They're actually solid in this matchup, your little mousetrap, because sometimes Watermelon Steven will just step on it and explode, right? And that's a cooldown I'm cool with. I'm cool with trading my mousetrap cooldown for an instant, Watermelon Steven death. If you keep Steven out, you can force him to go high, and then you start calling it out with side Bs and just clip him up, or sweet spot up airs, clip him off the top, bing bang boom. Pretty solid. I'm gonna say Superman's even. I'm gonna put Superman in the even tier, right? And the reason I'm gonna do this is a couple. One, your trap is virtually useless. You can just count, your mouse trap out. Your down special is just out of the equation because Superman can instantly use his little fire eye lasers and just destroy it. Superman destroys laser trap or mouse trap. It has almost no purpose aside from a late sneak it in there. Right? Any character that spends a lot of time high up in the air, it's tough, right? Because you want to approach with Jerry's Slingshot. Jerry's Slingshot is so good because you not only hit them with the move, but you also set up Jerry on the field. So you can now start setting up tennis balls. You can try and hit him with a cork shot. You can, go from there. Against Superman, this is hard because he's going to be up in the sky, zooming around, using his eye lasers all the time. And if you try and shoot a Jerry up there, even if you hit, again, same thing with Shaggy, you're just going to throw Jerry off stage, and then you're going to be on cooldown. His projectiles, right, are like the eye laser and the frost breath, which you cannot really reflect with your own racket. So it's like he has, interesting projectile properties of his own. He's also bulky as hell. He's got armor you've always got to deal with. His ground game is better than Tom and Jerry's, and they're always going to try and knock you up and fish for the purr, and then they just throw you into the sky. Aside from that stuff, you can handle Soup's zone. Tom has dynamite and Tom has forward air, which are both really great with dealing that. I think forward air, breaking armor, is such a good thing for Tom and Jerry. I would say it's even. I would say, yeah, sometimes Superman will mess you up. Sometimes you won't be able to get up zoning, and they'll just camp in the sky, and then you're kind of screwed, right? Just trying to fish for up airs and up Bs, and they'll land with armor or whatever. And then other times, you can get the lead, and then now they can't really sky camp. They have to come play lower, and then you can start abusing your dynamite and your slingshot. So I would say it's a pretty evenish matchup. And then lastly, Wonder Woman. I don't know how. I actually don't know how I feel about Wonder Woman. I've definitely fought a few Wonder Womans for sure in one-on-one. It's probably easier than Harley. I do think it's winning. I do think Tom and Jerry wins against Wonder Woman because it's the same type of thing where Wonder Woman really can't deal with zoning. She has her lasso of truth, and she has a lot of armor stuff that can kind of protect her, let her take a hit and then zoom in after zoning. So if Wonder Woman is smart, they will armor the Jerry Slingshot as it's in the air and then immediately be on you and start slicing you up, hit you off stage, try and spike you, try and knock you up with the shield. But again, Wonder Woman is very much a team-centric character, is very much a support tank that, makes the most of her goo when she's shielding an ally. Because otherwise she's kind of slow. She doesn't really have great zoning to deal with stuff. She has good spikes, so she can definitely edge guard. I think edge guarding Tom and Jerry, she does pretty well. And it is a little hard to edge guard her because of her shield move. She has a good protective up air, but other than that, again, you just play the zoning game. You just keep her out. She's not as fast as other characters. She doesn't kill super early. Aside from getting knocked to the side and lasso whipped, I never really got killed super early by Wonder Woman aside from spikes. You zone her out. Don't let her get too close. Be cognizant of her armor and be aware of her lasso. If you're aware of those two things, you should be able to handle Wonder Woman just fine. That's literally all the characters on the tier list we have so far. Oop, that was kind of Grustin. Grant good eve. Yeah, there's no one else. So these are, how many characters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it's going to launch with 16 characters, and we've had 15 to play with so far. I think Tom and Jerry is a top 3, top 5 character. They're, one of the best in singles and doubles. Great support, great projectile spamming in doubles, and then in singles, very hard for people to kind of get through the wall of dynamite on their own. You've got great tools to edge guard, great tools to ledge trap, solid combos. You got a great up smash, kill confirm into ups, or up smash into up air kill confirm, which Tom and Jerry, does well against most of the characters, because you can play your game plan. Like anyone in the solid win or the win category, for the most part, you can play your game plan. You can set a trap, you can start flicking dynamite, and you can throw the Jerry slingshots, start doing your tennis, right? Solid win and win, you can play your game, and you should be absolutely fine. Even, you do have to be careful. I think that's when you have to start thinking differently, right? You have to be, like, Velma is the only one in even, I would say, where you can just play the same game. It's just about who plays it better, right? Who was doing the zoning better in this matchup. But once you get to Shaggy, Batman, Bugs, and Finn, you now have to, like, be careful. Like, but all in all, I don't think anything is unwinnable, and I don't think anything is also, like, again, I don't think any of the solid wins are free wins, right? There have been Batman, Taz, Jake, and Steven can all definitely beat Tom and Jerry. They all have ways to kind of, you know, get their own stuff. I think, like, the game is fairly balanced so far in 1v1. Some people might not agree. Some people might think it's all over the place, especially with the game being 2v2 focus. And I do think, you know, again, like, certain matchups will be tough, right? Like, again, just because it's not impossible, it doesn't mean the solid wins are easy, right? Batman, Taz, especially, and Jake, that's tough, right? When I come across those characters, I feel like I can ease up and I can just kind of autopilot a little. I expect this to be fairly different upon open beta release, and after playing like a week or two of that on like the current patch, assuming, you know, there's not any big changes in store, I'll probably update the tier list, and then from there we'll go with, you know, new characters added and changes happening. I'm sure things will mix up over time, but for the closed alpha, this is my preliminary Tom and Jerry matchup chart. Thanks for stopping by and checking it out. If the thoughts were helpful, and if you enjoy Multiversus content, a like and subscribe would be super appreciated. There's definitely going to be a ton more Multiversus stuff when open beta releases. Thanks for stopping by, and until next time, remember, keep it going.
No tattoo on the moon in June. Right up on drawing a wrong gone through. Living in the manga with Chrimbus drug. In case you didn't know, I'm a man. Rainbow swing and a jingle drew. Got no tattoo on the moon in June. In case you didn't have full Rango drug. I'm gonna swing my chain cause I didn't know nothing.